Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Tina. So we're on for another episode of the actual junk journal, you know, using actual junk. So I'm going to have a bit of a play today. Obviously, if you've watched my previous episodes, this has sometimes kind of worked out. It's sometimes not worked out at all, and kind of almost felt a bit embarrassed, kind of wishing that I hadn't tried to have a play, you know, I'm not live, but you know, on film anyway, with you guys watching. But hey, nothing ventured, nothing gained. So I'm going to have a bit of a play. So I have rummaged again through my supplies. Found these gorgeous leaflets, also in a drawer from a lovely antique shop that I went to. I'll just show you a couple of other things that I found in the same kind of bundle. So, oops, I had a couple of these little things, which I thought might be able to use. I particularly like this gorgeous Vintage Emporium logo. So I've got those. I love this. This, I had obviously, you know, not parted with this and binned this because look at how gorgeous this is. I mean, actually almost feeling this is too nice to use. So I'm not quite sure that I'm going to be able to bring myself to use it. But that's another thing I pulled in. And then just another kind of leaflet that was in with the bundle. But I happen to have two of these from the same place. So I'm going to experiment a little bit. I have looked back through my comment, couldn't find who the comment was from, but somebody very kindly suggested using, now I'm never sure whether you pronounce it gesso or gesso, on my kind of more magazine-y type pages, the glossy pages. I have used it a little bit in the past, mainly when I'm doing canvases and things, not especially in a junk journal. I think I've used it a couple of times in a junk journal. So I'm never very confident with it, and I'm sure that I'm probably not even quite using it in the right way, but I'm going to have an experiment with that. And the other thing that I'm going to experiment with is making a little bag, like the Glassine bags that people use, from the inner of a cereal packet. I have seen somebody else do this a really long time ago, so sadly I couldn't find again who that person was to be able to kind of you know, mention them. If I can manage to locate who that was, I will obviously link them below. But it was a brilliant you know, little tutorial that they did, and I haven't had a go before, so I thought I would come and have a go now. I did quickly have a go before obviously setting up my camera and everything to try and do this video. So this was a teeny weeny one that I made just to kind of experiment. I tried gluing the cereal packet with my wet glue and didn't really have much success. I suspect that because this is a very, you know, shiny surface, I mean, it would probably take hours and hours and hours to dry, and I have left that for about 2 hours. It's not dried. So then I've used my hot glue. Now, the hot glue did work. I mean, it's pretty well stuck. But the hot glue did cause the, I don't know what you'd call this stuff really, but this glassine-ish type material, or, you know, paper, to rucker quite a bit, if that makes sense. So it kind of, you know, leaves a bit of a raised, if you can see that. Let me see whether I'm in frame. Leaves a raised kind of surface along there. However, I'm going to go with this because I only do have Mod Podge or my wet glue or the hot glue. You know, that's the only glues that I've got. So obviously Mod Podge I assume would be the same because that's also a wet PVA type glue. And obviously if we make the seam on the back and things to make the bag, it won't be too much of a problem anyway because it will be covered up with whatever we pop on the front, which I'm proposing to use these pictures. So let me move the pages that we have made so far in the journal to one side so that I've got a slightly clearer surface. Now, as you can see, I also used a page or a picture from a magazine, and I've lightly gessoed or gessoed it just to kind of see what I thought, you know, to the duller surface, I suppose that would be. So as luck had it, obviously I had two of these leaflets in the drawer. I must have kind of picked them up and they must have come out, you know, with the little thing together, but that's worked out fantastic. So what I'm going to do is literally just gesso one and see what it looks like. Now my gesso is so old, it had all gone really brown and horrible on the top. So, you know, yeah, I've had to kind of scrape the top off. As you can see, it's pretty yucky. Now, I'm going to use a brush. Obviously, when I've used it for canvases and things, I've used one of those kind of metal scraper things, more like this kind of thing. But for this, I just want to literally paint over it very kind of finely, just to get rid of the shiny surface of the picture. So I'm just going to literally paint across like that, just so as to give it a like more dull finish, I suppose. So that's all I'm doing with that, and I'm just going to do it on one, and then we're going to make the bag, and then we will come back to this and check which one we prefer the look of, the, you know, gessoed one or gessoed, or the one that we haven't kind of done. So that's that. It's all covered, and I've tried to go in the same direction each time. So I'm going to pop those to one side now. I'll just pop my gesso or gesso out of the way. Right, now we're going to attempt to make the bag. So let me move this out of the way. Now, obviously this I did as a kind of long bag, but this picture, if I just cut out the one that we haven't treated, just so as we can kind of work out the shape of the bag. Let me check that I'm in frame and recording, because I am somewhat paranoid since last week's problems that I encountered. Right, looking good so far, and I've deleted a whole bunch of stuff again from my iPad, so fingers crossed we're going to be, you know, it's all going to be good. So the bag itself, I don't want it too long, although we could always decorate it, I suppose, kind of down below with, you know, some flowers and trims and things like that. So if we kind of thought that the bag was going to be kind of maybe this sort of size, so if I trim it here, across the top, not got that straight at all, unfortunately. So I'm going to trim down this part, because that's obviously huge now. And then we're going to fold this over. Now, obviously on my bag that I did as a kind of test, I stuck this flap in the middle. I don't think it probably matters where it's stuck, whether it is the middle or the side. So because this has got a kind of natural fold here anyway, because of the crease of how the bag was originally, I'm just going to go for it on that natural crease, if that makes sense. So let me just pull in a page that I think, you know, we're going to kind of use. So we've got obviously a brown page, or we've got a white page. So let me just check that it's not going to be too massive on the page, and it currently is. So I need to trim that down slightly more, or take that in slightly more. So I think probably I'll cut it down here slightly. And this is tricky stuff to cut, because obviously, you know, I'm not getting it straight at all, because it's hard to see it. And also it's kind of moving and sliding around. So yeah, it's not the best stuff to cut, but it doesn't matter, you know, because hopefully this is just going to be the back and no one's really going to see it. So what I could do now is cut along the original crease, and that gives me a bit of a guide as to where to cut it. Okay. So if I bring, I mean, I'm just thinking this page, because this is obviously slightly bigger, so we then have a little bit more to play with, you know, than we do on the white page. So I'm going to move the white page out of the way. I'll just move that one out of the way now. So what I'm going to do on the first instance is actually glue this flap over, and then we will trim the bag down lengthwise. So now, as I say, this will not look pretty because it, you know, it will disrupt the surface, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say. So I'm just going to literally run some hot glue straight down there and then just pop it over like that. Now, the other thing that happens is it does tend to get stuck straight through onto the front. So I just needed to be aware of that and then straight away peel it away from the front, if that makes sense. So there we go. Now, what I'm going to do here is, obviously this is the kind of bottom seam of the bag, so I'm going to cut it off and just neaten it up there as a kind of fold up for the bottom of the bag. So I would normally cut this inner bit off, but in this case I'm going to fold it in, because then when I fold this up and stick it, instead of it sticking hopefully to the front of the bag, it will just stick to that folded up bit, if that makes sense. Hope this is making sense. It's kind of difficult to describe. So I'm just going to literally glue it down. That piece actually came completely away, I think. Oh no, it didn't. No, it didn't. Just making things up now. Right. Okay. So that's kind of the bottom of the bag. And then the top of the bag we can obviously then tidy up or kind of change as we see fit in a moment. So let me just have a look around. Now, I had to buy a new hole punch at the weekend, a new circle punch, because mine had completely broken. I'd had mine for years and years and years, so I bought a new one, and I'm thinking we might put a thumb hole in here. But what I will do is just check the thumb hole out on here, because I'm not sure how well this stuff is going to punch, if you see what I mean. So I'll try in the first instance to punch through, actually I'll try in the first instance to just punch through the one layer. Right, so can you see there, it's not really punched that. I will try one more time just in case I kind of, you know, might have been kind of user error, but I think what's happening, this is, you know, because it's a kind of plastic material, it cannot punch. So sadly, I can't have the thumb hole unless I cut it freehand, but to be honest, it might not look so tidy, so I'm not going to do that. So I'll put that to one side, and then what we'll do, we'll just check what sort of size that's looking for the page, and then we can kind of trim the bag down. Now, I quite like the bag being longish on the page, so I'm not going to chop it down too much, just a tiny bit. So like that, just to kind of tidy up the edge at the top. Now let me check that I'm in frame and that I'm still filming. Yep, looking good so far, so that's all positive, so that's good. Right, then what we can do, bring the treated one back and decide which one we prefer. So probably leaning towards this gesso or gessoed one. It looks pretty, so I'm just going to literally cut around that to cut that off. It is still a little bit wet, and I don't have my heat tool, so you know, we won't kind of do too much to it for a couple of minutes while it's still kind of drying. But what I'll probably do is just layer it up with some other paper. So if I just look in my kind of pile here, obviously I've got some brown paper bag which we could use, but because it's going onto this brown page, that may be just too much brown, if you see what I mean. I have got this white just receipt from the dentist. I could use something like that. Might be kind of cute. Yeah, that's quite nice, isn't it? Because we're obviously kind of trying to go for the junky kind of effect. And then what we'll do is obviously decorate around with some other bits and bobs. Obviously we could kind of have some fabric going on. So this is now just literally down to scraps here. So if I just cut that away from the seam. Like that. You know, but we could kind of have something like that. Or actually kind of back it so it looks like it is backed on to the fabric. Or I could use, actually, instead of using these scraps, we could get a piece that we actually have a decent size. Might be more sensible, mightn't it? So if we were to use kind of, say, this one, for instance. So if I just cut this bunting flag completely, you know, clear, so that we've just got one. Because it's obviously still stitched together at the moment. Oh, come on, come on, come on. So I hope everyone's doing well today and having a good day. Thank you so much for all your lovely comments. I'm so glad that so many people seem to be enjoying this series. Obviously I am filming ahead, so you know, I've only uploaded a couple at the moment, so who knows, by the time I upload this maybe people will be not enjoying it so much because they'll be fed up with all my deliberating. But so far so good, and it seems like people are having a fun time with it, so that was kind of lovely to kind of hear that. So what we're going to do is I will stamp around on here. So I'm just reaching up, getting my bunch of stamps down, and probably just to keep in with the theme that we have been using, I will just stamp just using the you know, the big swirly stamp that we've been using so far. It's quite nice for continuity to kind of, you know, go with the same theme, I think. So we'll just have kind of a couple of stamped corners, a bit of stamping at the top, just have a bit of stamping here. And I mean, the bag is obviously going to take over the majority of the page, so I will just stamp a little bit down the side, but not too much. Then we'll put that stamp to one side. Okay. Now what we'll do is kind of ink up these little bits and pieces. So if I ink up this, you know, dental receipt first. I mean, I probably should have coffee dyed this, but I just found this in a coat pocket the other day, and I thought, oh, that looks good colours to be able to use for the journal. So I just thought I would, you know, pull it in. Yeah, just purely based on, I thought the colours were nice, so we can just kind of have that like that. Now I don't know how well how well this is going to distress. I mean, not brilliantly, to be honest, but a bit. It's not too bad. It may have, again, it may have coffee dyed better, but obviously I hadn't tried that. So, you know, well, that looks a little bit better, so we can use that. Now, as I say, this is slightly wet still, so, you know, it's not ideal, but obviously I don't want to kind of sit here all day. So I think we will just try and distress it anyway, just to kind of get on. So let me just kind of try and be a bit gentle, because obviously it is still, you know, not completely taken, if you see what I mean. Yes, I do apologise. Again, I will try and find who that was who suggested the gesso the other day, or gesso. I really do appreciate that, because it makes a massive difference actually, and now I'm wishing that I had done that obviously on my other, let me pull the page, in fact it might even be on the rear of this. Yeah, I wish I had done it on here now. Whether or not I could do it retrospectively, I'm not sure. I possibly could on the shoes, definitely. So, you know, we may have a play with that later, but for the time being, we'll kind of stick with obviously what we're doing here. Now, obviously I'm going to back this onto fabric, but I'm just wondering whether we want a little bit of book page behind there as well. And obviously this is the book page, you know, that was just being ditched at work, so you know, it's all in keeping with the junk. It's not something that wasn't being thrown out, if you see what I mean. It's totally fine to use. I'm not cheating or anything. Let me see if I've got something with a bit more text. I mean, unfortunately, I mean, I can just trim this down slightly, I suppose, but I didn't want to lose too much of the cakes. There we go. So I probably do that as well, just because it adds a bit more interest really. So hopefully my glue is working. I have had the lid on. Nope, doesn't want to play, so hold on a second while I try and unclog my glue. Okay. Oops, all fingers and thumbs again today. Amounts of times that I say that, I'm sure you must all think, well, you're always all fingers and thumbs, because I'm constantly saying it. So clearly I don't have many days where I'm not. Now obviously I don't really want to drag that too much, because as I say, it is actually still a little bit wet. So I'll just kind of do it, you know, by pressing more. So and then I think I will, actually let's just try and tear it. But we won't have too much of the book page, if you see what I mean. Don't want it too massive. Like that. I've also kept a little bag that my daughter had some sweets at the weekend, and she had a little pink and white stripy bag, and I've kept that, so hopefully we'll be able to kind of use that on another page as well. So yeah, right, so if I just ink up now the you know, the book page itself. So if I just pull this page back, just so as we can kind of get a feel for how this is looking. So if we had that up here, then we've only got to really cover the bottom bit of where it's saying dentist. So it's, do we want to actually back it onto the fabric? Let me check I'm in frame. Back it onto the fabric, or we could have a kind of you know, just fabric kind of piece going along. So let's just check out how it's going to look kind of with either of those options. So this is kind of the sort of effect it would have with the, you know, being backed completely onto fabric. Now the problem is, don't know whether you can see that, we're kind of losing lots of the pattern of the fabric. So that being the case, I think what I would prefer to do is actually just kind of maybe ruffle some on or something. So I'm just going to tear some. And again, I have to be a bit careful because where this fabric's been cut into a triangle, if I just tear it really fast, as I have done a couple of times, it just, you know, whittles down to a kind of point. So that's why I was kind of being extra careful there. So we could have this kind of here. We could just kind of ruffle that on down there. And then, I mean, we could even have like some little bunting pieces or something like that going across the top. Or we did have that lace actually, didn't we? Okay, just wondering whether we're actually covering up too much of the bag now. Maybe what we should do is kind of have it more this sort of size. So maybe we get rid of that bottom bit, because it's a bit of a shame to actually cover the entire bag that we've just made up completely, isn't it? So if we were to have it more like this, and then that kind of popped on there, let me just ink up this piece of lace. It might be nicer kind of more like that, I suppose. We could then just... I quite like that, So I think in the first instance, I'm going to just pop this down onto that My Dentist receipt thing. Okay. And just pop it on like that. That's quite pretty. Now, I also have got these that I've dug out from some old jewellery. So I think this is a little kind of charm bracelet of my daughter's. And then also these, which were also, they might have even been the same bracelet. It's hard to remember, to be honest. But it's got this perfect little cupcake. So I'm going to just literally break that off like that. So we could obviously have that kind of somewhere. And I thought the paper clip, we could kind of have, oops, holding the bag closed. So literally all I've done, and I used a regular size paper clip, not a giant one, just in case kind of I felt like cheating. So a regular size paper clip, you know, from Stash, or not Stash, but, you know, stationary kind of, you know, area of my desk. And then just this hooked on at the bottom. So I just thought, literally, oops. Oh, not that I can do this, to be honest. Oh, it's too fiddly, obviously, for me today, so. Oh my gosh. Why do things not work sometimes? Right, there we go. So I thought that would kind of look cute, then paper clipping the bag closed. So we could have that like that. That there. We could have a little cupcake. Now, do we want this kind of ruffled here, or do we want it on the page itself? Or we could have some little bunting flags kind of going across the side. Might be kind of cute. Let's have a look. We've got the lace, which I nearly then forgot about even after inking it. So we could just have some kind of lace trim somewhere. Oh, decisions. We're back to this again. So first things first, I'm going to stick these fabric hole reinforcers down. As you can see, I have actually got on finally and just punched the holes, you know, where I needed to punch the extra holes. And now obviously I need to now punch more because I've now covered them again with this fabric. But I just did that the other day quickly, you know, because obviously that was nothing exciting to be doing, and it was something that needed to do. So we've got that fabric there. Okay. So on here, I'll take the paper clip back off. Oh, now the paper clip's ripping the bag. Maybe that wasn't such a clever idea. Oh no, it didn't. Right, on here now, as I say, I'm having to use hot glue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to poke down a scrap piece of paper. So let me just find a scrap piece of paper. So I'm just going to tear a piece of paper out of this Florashi catalogue. So that I can fold this and slot it inside the bag, so that it doesn't just stick instantly to the back of the bag, because that definitely happens. So I'm just going to kind of pop it like that, so that we can glue this on and hopefully whip this out quick enough before the bag stuck to it. That's the plan. Who knows whether it's going to go to, you know, go to plan or not. So let's have a look. Just stick that down like that. I'm going to try and take this out. Yeah, that's fine. Just needed to kind of take it out quickly, and now I can obviously press it some more, but just wanted to make sure it wasn't stuck in the first instance. So now I can obviously just glue some of the other bits down where it would have been pretty kind of gapey, if you see what I mean. Okay, check the bottom, make sure I haven't got kind of too much gape there. No, that's fine. So move that out of the way. So that looks pretty, I think, and just still wondering what to do, kind of how to finish this off. Actually, the ribbon looks really quite nice. I do want to have this little cupcake somewhere because I think that's so cute. So what we could do is kind of ruffle the ribbon along the bottom of the bag, or along, yeah, along the bottom of the bag. So I'm going to pop this back in. Just trying to think whether I'm better off actually gluing or stapling this. Well, we'll soon find out, I guess. So I think actually we might staple it. Maybe we'll staple this. So let's bring my stapler in. Like that. Oh, this is proving very fiddly, to be honest. I don't know why. I think it's because the bag's a bit slippery, and you know, it's I've got that glare still from the the lamp. Here we go. Let me just do last piece. Come on. Like that. And we'll just go kind of like that at the side. So as we've left it long, if you see what I mean, because that will look quite cool hanging over. And then we've got this little cupcake, which we could either glue on the ribbon, or we could kind of have it here, maybe make a little feature of it, maybe pop it on some lace or something. There's something kind of going through my head at the moment that would be really cute to do with that cupcake. And you know, kind of when there's something that you're thinking of, but it won't kind of come. It's like that. And no doubt the second I glue that down, it will come to me and I'll think, oh, I should have done, you know, X, Y, Z, whatever it was. But at the moment, it's just not really coming to me. So that's a bit annoying. Right, let me cut a little bit of this fabric from the skirt, just in case I'm thinking of that. So, and actually we've got this, which we could have that kind of somewhere. Oh, maybe not. Right, let's cut a little bit. Just cut the seam off from the bottom. Just wondered whether it might look kind of cute, you know, if we did a kind of round piece. Let's just try that. So I'm just going to try gluing, literally just glue it together and kind of, you know, like press it down almost like we do the flowers, but I don't want to actually make a flower. And then cut it, not in a circle especially, but kind of, you know, smaller at least. Well, I guess that is a circle, but you know, a very rough one. Oh, it's still massive. I'll just cut it smaller, but let's just make that a lot smaller. Better. So my glue now is right over on the side, so never mind. So just to kind of highlight that little flower a little bit, I thought this would be kind of cute. So there's that, and then I have got some of those little ticket type items that I had obviously stamped the other day. Oh, and I've got another one of those little flowers hanging around. So just distress that a little bit. We could have that somewhere. So we could do something like that. That looks kind of cute, doesn't it? So if I just cut a couple of items from here. These are just those pre-stamped stuff that we did the other day. Just like a ticket and a postcard. Maybe have that there. And then actually we did do those little you know, the stamped buntings. Oh, I've also got this little flower which I nearly forgot about, and butterfly and things here and tickets. Oh, you see, I had forgotten about all this stuff because it was just kind of buried in the pile. So that was lucky, and actually I've got my Martha Stewart punch, so from here we could just do a little teeny butterfly. There we go. Just ink that as well. So, I mean, we could pop this flower on. Just going to kind of distress this flower a little bit. Oops. I think the flower is just too big for the page, unfortunately. So what we'll do, we'll bring this flower back. Just pop this one down. Actually, I wonder if we want one of these tickets on here as well. So just distress that a bit. Okay. Oh, that looks cute, doesn't it? So we'll just stick this ticket down. I might just use the hot glue just because, you know, it will stick nice and quickly then. And then we'll stick the flower down as well. Again, I'm just going to use the hot glue just purely for speed. Kind of makes it nice and simple and quick. Right, I'm just going to double check that we want this little cupcake on this little kind of round of net, or whether we'd prefer to kind of maybe have a little piece of lace there with the cupcake. Oh, I guess we could have both, couldn't we? Because that looks kind of nice to have both. So I'm just going to hot glue the lace down. Just trim it off here at the side. And then here, got strands again of my glue everywhere. To just glue that little cupcake on. Now I hope this is going to glue down. Obviously it's kind of hollow, so it's not got a great deal to grab onto, but hopefully enough, you know, to actually stick on there. Certainly got very hot holding it as soon as the glue touched the metal. Right, so that's cute. Okay, and then final thing is the little Martha Stewart butterfly, which I'm just going to pop there in where that heart is on that cake. Oh, that looks really sweet now. And then we could have the ticket here, so I'm just going to now wet glue the ticket down, because I mean the ticket's really, I mean it's literally stamped on envelope, so that's how thin the paper is that's been stamped onto. There we go. And then it's just a question of whether or not we want any bunting or anything like that kind of going around, you know, the edge of the page. Let me check them in frame. Bunting, or we could have that bigger butterfly. I feel like it needs a little bit more pink. You know, probably watching at home, you're maybe thinking, more pink? That page is pretty pink now. But something just calling me that it just needs a little bit more pink even than it currently has. Just bin that rubbish. So perhaps we should have the butterfly up there actually. Got hot glue threads going right the way across there. So we could have it like that. Now, it's a bit annoying about this paperclip now. I'm wondering perhaps we'll have to have it to the side or something. Just thought that paperclip would have been really cute, but it didn't seem to like, you know, it seemed to get hooked up. Let me just take that off. What we could do is obviously just have the well, perhaps we'll have to save the cherries for another page, which is a shame, but you know, maybe they just didn't want to be on there. So what I'm going to do now is, because I'm still feeling a pull towards the pink, so I'm just going to kind of distress ink around the page a little bit with the pink to give it a bit more of a kind of pinky hue before we stick the bag down. And actually I can get this tab there that otherwise we just had the back of that showing, which was obviously just stark white, you know. So that looks nice. Okay, I'm going to put that back there just in case. I'm going to put that bag down there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is stick the bag down as a corner tuck. Can you see what's happened to that glue on there? It looks literally like it's kind of drawn on there. It's taken on a really strange appearance. It looks really strange. Right, so I'm just going to do it like a corner tuck. Hopefully this is going to work after we've done all that work on the bag, because that would be really disappointing if it didn't. So I'm using this again to kind of stop it gluing onto, you know, the other half of the bag, if you see what I mean. So we'll just pop that like that. And then what I'm going to do is just literally run glue in the two places that we want it. So I'm going to run it straight down the side and straight along the bottom like that. And we just glue it straight on like that. And just kind of try not to get it too stuck to the other side of the bag. Hold on. We might have a little bit of an issue in that corner, but you know, that's not too bad. That's not too bad, I think. So I'm sure there's other glues that would have been much better, but obviously, as I say, I literally only had my hot glue or the wet glue, and the wet glue definitely wasn't working. So right, I mean, I think that looks a really cute page now. So we've got the butterfly. I'm going to pop him up there. Again, wouldn't normally necessarily bother with hot glue, but just for speed, I'm going to pop him like that. Ah, that was those banners we were looking for. So actually I've got this little dream as well. So let's just see whether we want that anywhere. When I cut these out, I normally like to cut them as a little banner at the edge. Not that I can see what I'm doing because of that great big light, but okay. I quite like them like that kind of shape at the edge. I think they look really cute like that. So you could either have it kind of up here or on the actual bag itself. So if I just distress ink around the edge a bit. What do we think? On the bag or on the page? I think on the bag. I'll just wet glue this one. Just like that. And then we'll just see if we want to have any of those, you know, buntings. We could obviously have the little bunting triangles out of the fabric, but strangely I'm not finding that fabric working for me now. So let me check them in frame. Okay, it's 50 minutes. So it's a bit disappointing that we haven't obviously managed to do 2 pages this episode, but having said that, you know, we've kind of done a tutorial there making the glassine bag from the cereal packet, which, as I say, definitely not my idea. You know, sadly I cannot claim that as my idea. Absolutely fabulous tutorial somewhere on YouTube making them, and I'm sure hers are much neater, and she probably used a much better glue than the hot glue. So, you know, it's worth checking her tutorial out, really, if you want to make any, rather than probably following mine. But mine worked okay, you know, for what we're doing. I think it worked perfectly fine. So, you know, I don't honestly think it kind of mattered at all. So we could just have some little buntings there. If I just chop these down. Yeah, I mean, like, to me that just finishes it off nicely, whereas before just was lacking something over there for me. So we'll just literally pop them down with the wet glue. So just got one. I'm having a lot of fun with this series, I have to say. It's I'm finding it very challenging, and yeah, definitely kind of, yeah, I'm definitely finding it a challenge, but it's good fun, and it's helping to, you know, to kind of really think outside the box. And as I say, whoever said about the gesso, fantastic, because that just transforms that completely, and I do really wish that I had used it on here. So let me see how much time we've got. Okay, we've got kind of another few minutes. So what I might do, I'm not overly keen on these images. I don't think I'm going to use these. I might just see how the gesso would look on those shoes. So I'm just going to pull it back quickly. Obviously my brush now is getting a little bit dry because it's been sat there for this whole hour. But I just want to kind of see how it takes on those shoes, because I could then quickly do those shoes. I mean, obviously that's looking very white at the moment, you know, so hopefully it would dry kind of more powdery looking, if you see what I mean. So I might just quickly do that while we've got a couple of minutes to spare. So I'm just going to literally go over those shoes with the brush. Oops, like that. I have to go down ways on here on the heel to get to them, but let me check whether I've got the whole of those shoes now. Obviously it's hard to tell because of the glare of that spotlight, but there we go. Yeah, instantly they look better, don't they? So fantastic tip, thank you so much, whoever that was. I really wish that I could remember. I did look through the comments and I just couldn't find whose you know, I couldn't find that comment. I had replied to you, but I couldn't find that comment, and now I'm going gesso mad, because now I'm thinking I'm going to just quickly do it over this little tag as well. There we go. Might even only do it on the, you know, on this side, and leave the other side, I'm not sure. Right, well, if I do the other side, I'll have to do it another time because obviously I need to let this dry. Yeah, really, really grateful to that person. So thank you so much. I really wish that I could remember who that was, but I will have another look through the comments and try and find you. So thank you very much. So yeah, I know we've only actually achieved one page today, which is slightly disappointing, but in fairness, we did do a kind of tutorial with the little bag there, so you know, hopefully kind of that makes up for it a little bit. And I do love how that page turned out in the end, so it was good fun to do. So I hope that you guys also, you know, really like that page. Yeah, and I will catch you next time where hopefully we can achieve 2 pages, you know, and kind of speed on a little bit more. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope that you all have a nice day. Hope that you've all been playing around, kind of maybe making your own junk journal as well. And I will see you next time. Thanks a lot then. Bye.